So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And this isn't going to be a long one, and reasons being is because I've just back off my wedding, and I don't have the energy to delve into this one tonight, specifically because I'm a bit deflated after that goal. Very much like I was deflated after the goal that Villa conceded. After the goal that Villa conceded right at the death against PSG. It was, the graphic came up on the screen on Sky Sports, and 90% of my body went, they've just jinxed it for us. And while I didn't expect Villa to concede, we did, and it was a goal that was, the cross was great from Doku, but it was imminently defendable. But that's the thing for me. That's the thing that kills me about tonight's game, is both goals were imminently defendable, and they weren't defended by us. And that is a bit of a pain in the neck. It's a hard one to swallow. We've given 2 extra points to a Champions League contender like ourselves, and we've given ourselves an awful lot to do in the final few games. I suppose let's start off as let's try and do this in some sort of a timeline. Villa go through and they hit the post in the first 21 seconds. Marcus Rashford runs through, hits the post, and comes back out to Stefan Ortega. And to be honest with you, Man City were there for the taking tonight. Man City, I think both defenses were a bit sleepwalky at times today. But I thought we could have tested City's defence a lot more. I thought at times that we didn't commit enough players forward, probably for obvious reasons, I suppose, really, with regards to Marmoush and his pace on that left-hand side. Their midfield is old. It's aging, and it looked fresher than our midfield today. At times we were able to get the ball and play through them, but it was like as if we stopped when we were about 30 yards out and waited for them to regroup. And I think that was, you don't want to be getting caught in the break, especially when you're 1-0 down. But we go back to 1-1, and obviously it's a penalty. I thought it was a stonewaller in real time. I don't understand why there was so much conversation about it. I don't understand why VAR need to look at it. But, we've seen way softer penalties given in 2025 than that. And then they show it obviously in the stadium, and there's a chorus of boos. I don't know whether that affected Craig Pawson for the rest of the game, but Craig Pawson wasn't the reason why we couldn't keep the last goal out, and that's the way I will always look at it, that he didn't make a mistake in that moment. Anyway, we get our penalty. Marcus Rashford then dispatches into the back of the net, and 1-1. I think going in at half-time, Villa would feel like they could have taken City on in the second half, specifically with the substitutions. And now here comes, I suppose, one of what might be considered maybe an out-of-character take, or an out-of-character synopsis, I suppose, on what happened in the next 45 minutes. I think the timing of the subs, I think some of the subs were the wrong subs, but I think every single one of the timing of the subs for me was it just didn't marry up. Now, I'm not a professional football manager. I will never be a professional football manager, and but I think even though Nana was looking a bit static in midfield, I think he just took up so much space inside there that he was doing a good job for us. Even though I've not seen, like, I didn't think he was like 7 out of 10 material or anything, but I thought he was stopping more than he was letting through. I think the big one, and people are going to talk about it, and I see it all over the comments here as well, is and this isn't the first time we've said we will say it, but Disasi coming out right back has changed a few games recently, and not for the better. Playing him centre half is more than acceptable. He's played really well at centre half. But bringing him on at right back, I think was it's something that there's a mea culpa there. I think in Mr. Emery's on Mr. Emery's part, I think you've got Andreas Garcia there on the bench, who's we haven't seen an awful lot of in recent weeks. And yes, I know Disasi is a more experienced player, but what we saw there is everybody knows Jeremy Doku is a north to south runner. He's not going to jink inside you. He's going to run straight at you. And he did that. And Disasi dives in, does have a good recovery run, but you're not going to get close to Jeremy Doku once he gets past you like that. I've got issues with that, with him obviously as well. Also for that last goal, I've got issues with why Pau Torres doesn't swing a left leg at it as it's coming across and put it out for a corner, and also why Dina doesn't throw himself at it. Now Dina, maybe it comes to him a small bit quicker. In a comment on Twitter, I did say that I felt he might have been at fault for it, but after I saw a couple of replays, both Dina and McGinn are out of position, but there isn't really anything Dina can do once that ball goes past him. So on hindsight with regards to that, I think you kind of have to ask yourself, does Torres have to do a small bit more? Or does Torres think if he gets a nick to it, does he put it into the back of his own net? I don't know. But the reason I'm bringing that up is that I mentioned that at times both defenses kind of sleepwalked a small bit through this game. And I think Aston Villa, I think, look, Pau Torres' forward passing was really good. But I think at times, more often, I suppose, than not really in this game, that when balls were flashed across the box, when balls were played in, I thought Torres was a bit lacking in leadership in that aspect. I know you're never going to get the Tyrone Mings treatment from Pau Torres, and I don't expect that, but I just, I felt that it wasn't the same as what we've seen from him in recent weeks, and he's a man coming back from an injury as well. So look, that's that may be an excuse for it, but in a game like this with fine margins, when that ball comes across, while I want to see it again and again and again a couple more times to see exactly, and I'm trying to look at it here on the TV in front of me, but it stopped. It started buffering now, so I'm not going to be able to see it. My last view on it, and I may change this after I watch it back again a couple of times, is that maybe he could have got a foot to it, but either way, he didn't. And we were poor. We were poor at times during this game. It's like as if we tried to rest and turn it on and rest and turn it on. And there was a couple of moments in the game where we got them one-on-one out wide. Rashford particularly got the one-on-one out wide on the right-hand side a couple of times. He had one where he took the ball around the goalkeeper, could have squared it. I don't think he can get that ball across to, I think it was Tielemans running in. Don't think he can do that, but he takes a shot. Shot goes into the side netting. And it goes down as a missed chance for Aston Villa. But there was a couple of other times where he got the ball. He almost tried to stand his man up. He then became three men around him, and he still tried to take them on with maybe a little nutmeg. There was one that I remember where he tried to nutmeg the player to go around him. And I'm not saying that if he turns around and recycles the ball, we would have had a guaranteed chance. But he recycles the ball, he gets back into a central position again. Maybe we've got an opportunity to fizz that ball across the goals again at another stage. So I think at times we kind of tried to shoot our bolt a bit too early. But because we were almost stopping our play 20 yards out from goal, 25 yards out from goal, and allowing Man City to regroup, I think there's quite a lot that Unai Emery will not be happy about the way the players played on the field tonight. But also, as I said before, I think some of the substitutions, and going back to that, McGinn has been absolutely amazing in recent games. I thought, he came on, he found it tough to get to the pace of the game. He rolled his man at one stage, was absolutely brilliant. But getting to the pace of the game, I thought he struggled to do that. Personally, I don't understand why it took till the 85th minute to bring Daniel Malen on. Rashford. Morgan Rogers was on a yellow card. And you could see a couple of times they just went to run past him and he couldn't do anything. A couple of times he had to just stop chasing from behind in case he got a second yellow. Malen comes on in the 85th minute. I would like to see him come on a bit earlier. I'm not sure why Rashford was a bit annoyed to be taken, or not Rashford, why Rodgers is a bit annoyed to be taken off. I think he needs to understand that he was on a yellow card. And look, Daniel Mallon is an able deputy to come in there for sure, and he's been in good goal scoring form. What was the other substitution? Watkins comes on for Rashford. I still am of the opinion whereby I want to see Rashford on the left and Watkins up top. I don't understand where this definitive narrative of the two of them don't play well together when that's the situation. I to be honest with you, we've seen nowhere near enough of it for anybody to make that determination. So I'd love to see that again. But I think on the balance of play, we were a team that looked like we wanted to go there not to lose at times, and then tried to force opportunities where we could maybe win it. And look, we nearly got a draw out of it, but nearly never bulled a cow, as we say here at home. And Matheus Nunes comes up in the 93rd, 94th minute or whatever, and punishes Aston Villa, punishes us for for being sloppy and not playing to the end of the game. And there's been a couple of times this year where that hasn't happened. I suppose realistically now what happens from here is we're under a lot more pressure now, obviously, in the Fulham game, the Bournemouth game. Sorry, the Fulham game, is it Bournemouth? The next two games, should I say, we're under a lot more pressure to perform and to get 6 points from those two games. The reason I wanted a point in this game, the reason a point would have been very beneficial here. And look, we've no right to go to Man City and win the game either. Everybody knows that record that they were talking about beforehand. It's now gone to 15, isn't it, in a row that we've lost there. 15 games in a row in the Premier League that we've lost there. We've no God-given right to go there and win. But I felt that we had a God-given right to go there and have a bit more of a better go of it, because I feel that they were there for the taking. But in the hindsight of it and looking at the marathon and at the sprint, a point today against Man City arguably could have been the point that kind of wrote off or the lack of our goal difference. Because it would be a point that I suppose, realistically at the start of the year, you wouldn't have expected to get. Now, that's not to say that going into this game, I didn't think we'd win. I thought we had every chance to win. But, when they get that goal in 7 minutes, and I know we get back into it quickly afterwards, but the second half never kicked off. And I have a message to Paddy where I say in it, I goes, our bench is going to come on and going to blow them away. And it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Our bench came on a bit late in the game and just didn't really have much of an effect. The effect that we wanted anyway, should I say. I know we had a couple of half chances towards the end, but it just didn't work. It didn't work like it has in previous weeks, and Villa have to be teak tough now in the run in for their last 4 games. They pretty much have to win their last 4 games. You've got Man United, you've got Spurs, you've got Fulham, and I can't remember, is it Bournemouth that the other game is? I'm blanking on that at the moment. And then you also have a cup semi-final intertwined in that as well. So it's going to be a packed few weeks for Aston Villa. It really is. Saying that, look, we were the form team coming into this game in Europe. It's a game we should have expected to win, and we didn't. And I can't synopsize it any better or any worse than that. We were the makers of our own downfall. We didn't press against them when we should have pressed them. I mean, press home our advantage when we're on top. I felt, as I said previously, that when we were attacking, we stopped. We tended to slow our attacks down the closer we got the goal, and it looked like it was a tactic to do that, to draw them in. And then we were sloppy for the 2 goals that we conceded. Imminently savable shot from Martinez, as I'll say again. Parries it down, hits off his own foot, goes into the back of the net. One of those ones, but should have been saved. And you won't hear me probably say this too often, but and look, once again, I'm not a World Cup winning goalkeeper, so I can completely understand why he has parried it. But Gary Neville kind of called it. He said an awful lot recently, in recent years, goalkeepers are palming those ones out, back to almost to where they came from. And he just couldn't understand why. And in this instance, he went to palm it, hits off his foot, goes behind him, goes into the back of the net. I think realistically speaking, he saved it and kicked it into his own net, but unbeknownst to himself. And then, as we said, the last goal, Disasi gets stung on the outside, gets back, can't get back fast enough. The ball goes across. How Torres potentially could have swung a leg at it to try and deflect it or get something on it. Could have got in the back of the net. It absolutely could have. And then, as I say, Luca Dean was out of position at the back post, as was John McGinn. The two of them were way too close to each other. And Mateus Nunes just ghosts in there and has an easy finish to go across the goals with it, which is it's a body blow to Aston Villa. It's one that, you know, at that point would have been very well received. That point would have been worth its weight in gold, I think, coming into the run-in. And not only that point would have been worth its weight in gold, the extra 2 points that Man City wouldn't have had would have been equally as important. But now Man City have 3 points and we don't have our 1 point. And that's a big issue. That's a big issue in us pressing to get to fifth place, specifically after Nottingham Forest winning against Spurs yesterday and breaking their recent bad run. So, you know, Villa have to win all their games for the rest of the season now and hope that, you know, they get favours from somebody else, that they're drop points out of best. And that absolutely can happen. Can absolutely happen at this time of the season, when injuries and form and energy levels are depleting. And that's one of the reasons why, when I was speaking there and I said it was kind of uncharacteristic for me, don't usually go into the impact of subs that much in a negative way. But I thought that the timing of the subs today was a bit strange to me for a man who usually is not afraid to make an early sub or two. I thought that potentially that's what he was crying out for. Specifically 15 minutes or even, sorry, not even 50 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes into the second half. I thought you could see that, especially after Morgan Rogers gets booked. And I know that was later in the game. You know, you're looking at maybe making that change there somewhere as well. Right. I'm struggling with your comments here, guys, and the reason being is every so often, sometimes comments get all jumbled up together, and I can't tell who sent it, and it's like a mixture of people. It's a glitch with the software, so I do apologize with regards to that. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll just try and refresh something here and see if I can read something, because I would like to get your opinions on it, and I don't want you to think that he's not reading them out because we had a loss. That's exactly when I need to read them out, because I don't really have any more to say in the game, and I think, you know, 17 minutes is probably too short for a podcast, but I think we may have to wrap it up on that one, because I don't seem to be able to see your comments correctly. They all seem to be a bit jumbled up, but yeah. So listen, I'm going to finish up here and say that, look, you know, as well, that Champions League isn't out of the realms of possibility still. It's still mathematically possible, I think, in my view. It's less probable, but it is possible. I know that Justin Hawthorne, Justin Talks Villa and Up to Villa has done. He has predicted it's going to be 66 points. I myself thought it was going to be 67. That's why I think that this point would have given us leeway to maybe not win one of those games that we have upcoming. But we don't have that leeway now. And if this team wants to get Champions League, they're going to have to go 12 points, I think, in the next 4 games, which is going to be, which is not beyond them, but is difficult, and brings us to 69 points. And anything's to play from there. But all will be written in the course of the rest of the season. So I think, you know, instead of sitting here and wallowing, there isn't much really to say other than we were the masters of our own downfall, and in those 2 goals. And while we didn't play to the levels we played against Newcastle at the weekend, I watched that game at my wedding, and thanks to Paddy and Ronan and Noel, who every time there was a goal calmed me down so I could see it from the top table, and I went sprinting down as fast as I could to see it, to see those goals. And then I watched that game back subsequently, and I thought we were absolutely outstanding against Newcastle. Complete team, a complete performance. I thought we were really, really good. Yes, you can probably talk about the goal that Martinez conceded then as well as potentially being an error. But and understandably, I think we didn't see that team against Man City. Everybody presumes Man City are dead and buried, or not dead and buried, but aren't the team that they are. but when they play at home, they're actually pretty formidable, and we don't have a great record there. So past wasn't prologue with regards to Saturday's game and how we should have played today, but I just felt that, I'll go to bed tonight and I'll feel that there was probably a bit more I expected from Villa tonight. And I would have been here a completely different person at a 1-1 draw. I think I would have been a lot happier than a lot of people in the comments with a 1-1 draw today, but we didn't get it. And just like we didn't get the 2-1 loss against PSG, and it was a 3-1 loss, it gave me that kind of feeling that, you don't concede that late goal in 90 minutes plus. You give yourself a better chance. But Villa have done it twice now in two big occasions, and look, it's coming towards the end of the season, but it's something they're going to have to learn. Absolutely, they've done it twice in big occasions. Just now in the last 2 weeks, we've done it. I think it's 8 times now this season where we've conceded in 90 plus. And Villa are really going to have to sort that out. I know there's a lot of talk about, you concede from your first shot and target. Villa have recovered a good few times from that situation. You can't recover when you concede in the 93rd minute and you've only 5 minutes of injury time. So that for me is more worrying than any statistic you'll see about the first shot being conceded, because you have a chance at the game, specifically in the 90th minute. And we had a chance to get a point today and we didn't. And that's another drop point, I think, as well. Even though we are playing against a team that has been so dominant in England prior to this, they weren't as dominant against us tonight, albeit we didn't do enough to win that game outright either. First half I thought was much better than the second half from a spectacle point of view. Second half, City had a couple of half chances. They had one ruled off, which was offside, and then they get that goal at the end, which, to be honest with you, on the balance of play, they probably deserved. So Villa have to knock that out of their game if they are going to be a more solid team, and that is definitely something that Unai Emery needs to work on. The off season, never mind the off season, needs to work on it in training and shape work tomorrow, because we can't keep conceding those late goals and expect to get into the Champions League this year. Anyway, look, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Thanks a million to everybody for watching. As you can see, my voice, or as you can probably hear, my voice is still not 100% after the weekend of celebrations that I had, but I do appreciate all the messages, all the well wishes that everybody gave me. My phone actually went dead on the day of the wedding, from everybody messaging me, texting me, DMing me, sending me messages on Twitter. I just want to say, while I haven't gotten back to everybody on it, I do appreciate everyone on that. Really, really, really do. Means an awful lot, to come on here and to talk to people that I've never met, people that I have met, people that I, that I will never get the chance to meet, unfortunately, because of where the lack of proximity for us and where we are in the world. But for you guys even to take your time out of your lives, 30 seconds or a minute, to just formulate a tweet and send it to me, that's really heartfelt. And I wanted to say thanks on that as well. I really, really appreciate it. And as I say, it started off great with a Newcastle result. Not so great tonight, but hopefully we get back up in the wagon again on Saturday against Palace, and get ourselves into an FA Cup final and see where we can go from there. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks a million again for all your well wishes. Thanks a million for joining us tonight again. And we'll be back again closer to the game on Saturday for a preview. And then obviously team sheet tantrums and post matches. And I'm going to try and make the team sheet tantrum this time, because of the timing of the game. I won't have kids to put to bed. So thanks a million for bearing with me on that one. Not the night that Villa wanted, not the night that Unai Emery wanted. You could see it in his face. And I think that there will be some reflection, let's just say, and some full-throated reflection, I think, going on over the next few days with regards to some of the goals we conceded. Let's hope we can clean those up in the coming weeks as we try to keep on charging to get it finish as high in the Premier League as we possibly can. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Go and wallow in the despair of a 2-1 defeat at the death, and we will see you again later on in the week. Remember, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the